Bizarre Brain Comics. Well, hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time I want to talk about this little graphic novel here. Just a little thing. Look at that. This is Set to Sea from 2014 from Fantagraphics books by Drew Weing. I think is how you pronounce it. Drew Weing. And Drew Weing was born in 1978. It's the year I graduated from high school. He's an American comic artist. And Set to Sea was his debut graphic novel. Later creating the web comic The Creepy Case File of Marlowe Malou, and he, with his wife, Eleanor Davis, have taught cartooning at the University of Georgia. And these were classes for children. In 2015, he published Flop to the Top through Toon Books as a children's book. And I guess he's done a lot of children's books. When I was looking him up, it had a whole bunch of children's books that he had done in recent years. But this was his breakout, his debut, and I guess it took him 5 years to produce this. He started out. Now, one unusual thing about this is that it's one panel per page, and he started out trying to do one page per day, and eventually it got so that it was taking him longer because it had a lot of intricate detail in the backgrounds and stuff. And I would say it's not really a children's graphic novel because it's got some violent and some graphic stuff in there, not sexually, but physically graphic in a couple of spots. And well, yeah, he's a fine cartoonist. Now his characters here are very cartoonish, but his has a lot of very detailed and precise background and setting and set pieces. Okay, and this is a library book, and as I've said many times, I've done some from the library. You don't necessarily have to buy your comics to enjoy them if you want to, as a reader. And your local libraries probably have a variety of stuff. This is something I never would have seen in at the comic shop, and I probably never would have bought had I seen it. But I enjoyed reading it, and it's a fairly quick read because there's very little dialogue to it. The story is told primarily through the illustration, and it takes place in the 16 or 1700s during the time of the pirates in the Caribbean, pirate era, and it starts off with see that there right there, a fine illustration there for the frontispiece. That's for Eleanor, and it starts here with our main character. He's unnamed. We never know his name. He's sitting there sleeping. He's in a tavern, sleeping in a chair in a tavern, and he basically gets kicked out because he can't sleep there, and he can't pay his bill. He gets booted out. This guy he wants to be a poet, and he's always working on some poetry. He sees the bookstore, and he wanders around the town, and he's working on his poem, and says, some stuff doesn't like it. And the poem that he's working on there is Set to Sea. It's called Set to Sea anyway. And meanwhile, here comes this wagon comes along with these goons, and he gets shanghaied. Boom! Knock him on the head. He wakes up in the ship's hold with a bunch of other guys who had been shanghaied. Finds out he's at sea. This is where you Probably the only named character in here is the captain, Captain Conrad Porter's ship. And says, until we reach Hong Kong, the only thing I want out of you is work. Some nice work. And when he gets the time, he tries to work on his poetry, and finally he just kind of gives up and throws the little booklet away. And then one day they are set upon by pirates. And you see, look at the intricate drawing of the battle scene. He comes out and goes, what's going on? And they get, and here we see the pirate captain. No quarter. And because our main character here is a big guy, he said, oh, get him first. Take out that big bruiser. And he goes, what's going on? And says, no, I know. And come right up and shoot him right in the eye. Boom. But it just takes out his eye and injures him. And well, it momentarily knocks him out. And he comes to, and he is pissed. And he starts grabbing people and weighing into him. And he defeats the pirates practically by himself. And it gets very violent and very, very graphic here for something cartoonish. He winds up getting an eye patch, and he's promoted to third mate because the third mate was killed, and he winds up getting promoted and stuff. And he's making friends with some of the other sailors, and he's there for a while and sends him drinking and spends a long time on the ship, and he's working him all the time. He's got his poems working in his mind, and then when he stops in place and he works his way up, he's stops in someplace, I think it's in Paris. Shows him going all over the world. Here's a ship in the near way up north here, or maybe it's way down south, who can say, in the tropics. So I guess they're doing gets involved in some whaling and other stuff. He had stopped in one port, and he bought him a little book to write in. And then all this time he's writing, and gets here we see in the city in a publishing company, and they get a package, and it's his book of poetry, the final manuscript for that book of maritime poetry. Yeah. And of course it shows it being printed and etc. And it gets published and have people reading it, talking about it and stuff. And then finally see a little kid reading the book, and the guy comes up and says, interesting book. So, I like it okay. Then we say, well, that's fair. This figure walking through the streets in the town goes to that tavern he was originally kicked out of at the beginning, and here he is years later. He's a sea captain. Look at that beard and an eye patch. And he sits down, and he's got his little book, and he's writing. And then the other guy said, "Can anything to help? Get anything else, sir?" And he says, "Just some peace and quiet," which is all he wanted in the first place. Yes, sir. He sits there in that same chair and sleeps, and no one bothers him. So the last page is a reflection of the very first page. And that was a very enjoyable little graphic novel to read. It's not your standard comic book fare by any means. It's not intended to be. And it's definitely not a children's book based on the violence that goes on in there. But it's a nice story. And as I said, I really enjoyed it. It's very well done. And I would have no problem with reading some more stuff that Drew Weing produced. And so that's all I have to share with you this time around. See, I told you I was going to keep it a little short because it's a short little graphic novel. And it's 140 pages, and it took him 5 years to do it. So I want to thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. Have you ever heard of this guy, Drew Weing? Or this graphic novel? Or anything else that he may have produced? Does this sound like something interesting to you? Let me know in the comments down below. And remember, comics are art.